What if Earth's most unbelievable landscapes were not illusions, but physical records of vanished oceans, ancient volcanoes, extreme chemistry, and life evolving under conditions that appear impossible? In this journey, we cross salt deserts that become mirrors, climb isolated mountains above the clouds, walk through forests of white stone, and enter underground passages illuminated by living stars. Each destination reveals a different force, still shaping the planet, from cooling lava and mineral-rich water to relentless wind, biological adaptation, and accidental human intervention. Stay with us until the final underground galaxy and tell us which of these 10 places looks least like it belongs on Earth. Salar de Uyuni, Bolivia. Salar de Uyuni stretches across the Bolivian Altiplano as an apparently endless plain of white salt. But its most extraordinary transformation begins when seasonal rain covers the surface with only a few inches of perfectly still water. The central story is the disappearance of the horizon because the salt crust beneath the water forms an unusually flat surface that reflects clouds, sunlight, and distant mountains with almost no visible distortion. During the dry season, geometric salt polygons spread across the ground like an enormous natural mosaic, preserving the mineral remains of prehistoric lakes that slowly evaporated and left their dissolved contents behind. When rain arrives, those hard patterns disappear beneath a shallow, reflective layer, making travelers seem to walk through the sky, while vehicles appear suspended between two identical worlds. The illusion becomes strongest at sunrise and sunset, when changing light removes familiar shadows and makes distance almost impossible to judge, creating a landscape where human balance depends more on memory than vision. Uyuni's power comes from this temporary erasure of direction, revealing how a small amount of water can transform an ancient lakebed into the largest mirror most travelers will ever stand upon. Would you rather see Uyuni's geometric salt patterns or walk across its perfect reflection of the sky? Mount Roraima, Venezuela, Brazil, and Guyana. Mount Roraima rises above the surrounding rainforest as a gigantic, flat-topped fortress, isolated by nearly vertical cliffs that separate its summit from the ecosystems spreading across the lowlands below. The central story is evolution through isolation, because species reaching the summit faced a cold, wet, nutrient-poor environment and remained separated long enough to develop adaptations rarely encountered anywhere else. Rain falls heavily across the exposed plateau, washing nutrients from the ancient rock and creating black pools, shallow streams, miniature valleys, and waterfalls that vanish directly over the mountain's enormous edges. Plants survive by growing close to the ground, trapping insects, storing water, or occupying narrow cracks where small amounts of organic material collect between surfaces shaped by erosion. The surrounding cliffs function like biological walls, limiting movement between the summit and the rainforest, while turning the plateau into a natural laboratory operating above the clouds. Roraima feels like a lost world, not because time stopped there, but because life continued along a separate path, producing an ecosystem shaped by isolation rather than connection. Would you climb Roraima for the view below, or for the strange life waiting on its summit? White Desert, Egypt. Egypt's White Desert rises from the Western Desert as a field of pale stone towers, mushrooms, animals, and ghost-like figures, all shaped from chalk that once formed beneath an ancient sea. The central story is wind acting as a sculptor, using airborne sand to strike exposed rock repeatedly until weak layers disappear and harder sections remain balanced, in forms that seem intentionally designed. The chalk began as marine sediment containing the microscopic remains of organisms that settled on the seafloor millions of years before the region became one of the driest landscapes on the planet. As the desert expanded, temperature changes fractured the exposed formations, while sandstorms polished their surfaces, narrowing bases, opening cavities, and separating enormous blocks from the surrounding plateau. Under moonlight, the bright stone reflects enough light to remain visible against the darkness, transforming familiar geological shapes into silent figures that appear to change whenever the observer moves. The White Desert demonstrates that erosion is not simply destruction, because given enough time, the removal of material can create forms more imaginative than anything human hands might have planned. Which shape would you search for? First, a mushroom, an animal, or a stone figure watching from the darkness? Bungle Bungles, Australia. The Bungle Bungles rise from Western Australia as enormous, beehive-shaped sandstone domes wrapped in alternating orange and black bands, making the range resemble a city built from layered stone. The central story lies within those stripes, because their colors record a partnership between geology, water, iron minerals, and living microorganisms operating across the surfaces of the domes. Orange bands appear where exposed sandstone remains dry enough for iron compounds to oxidize, producing the warm, rust-colored surfaces that glow intensely beneath the desert sun. Darker bands develop where moisture persists long enough for cyanobacteria to grow across the rock, creating thin biological coatings that protect softer sandstone from rapid erosion. Water then follows weaknesses between the layers, carving narrow chasms and rounded towers, while preserving the striped pattern that makes each formation appear deliberately painted. The Bungle Bungles reveal that a landscape can be both geological and biological, with ancient stone providing the structure, while living organisms continue editing its appearance today. Would you explore the striped domes from above, or enter the narrow gorges hidden between them? Darvaza Gas Crater, Turkmenistan. In the center of Turkmenistan's Karakum Desert, the Darvaza gas crater burns through the night as a vast circular opening filled with flames that rise directly from fractured ground. The central story is an industrial accident becoming part of the landscape, although the exact date and circumstances of the crater's creation remain less certain than many popular accounts suggest. It is widely associated with Soviet-era exploration, when drilling may have caused the surface above an underground gas deposit to collapse, and the escaping fuel was reportedly ignited to prevent dangerous methane from spreading. Instead of burning out quickly, gas continued, moving through cracks beneath the crater, feeding hundreds of separate flames that rise, weaken, and reappear across the uneven floor. After sunset, the surrounding desert disappears into darkness, while the crater illuminates dust and heat above it, making the horizon resemble an entrance to something active beneath the earth. Darvaza endures as a disturbing fusion of geology and human intervention, showing how one attempt to control an underground resource can create a landmark that outlives everyone responsible for it. Does Darvaza look like a natural wonder, a human warning, or a doorway that should never have been opened? Giant's Causeway, Northern Ireland. Along the coast of Northern Ireland, tens of thousands of basalt columns fit together like an immense stone pavement, with many forming remarkably regular 5, 6, or 7-sided shapes. The central story is geometry created by cooling lava, because the columns formed when thick volcanic flows gradually lost heat, contracted, and fractured across the surface. Cracks began as connected patterns similar to those seen in drying mud, but as cooling continued downward, the fractures extended vertically through the solidifying basalt. The process divided the lava into long stone prisms, while differences in cooling speed, thickness, and pressure produced variations within the otherwise organized structure. Waves and coastal erosion later removed softer material around the formation, exposing column tops as steps, platforms, walls, and paths leading directly into the Atlantic. Giant's Causeway appears constructed because nature followed the efficient geometry of contraction, proving that repeated physical forces can produce order without measurement, planning, or design. Would you trust the volcanic explanation immediately, or understand why legends imagine giants building this coast? Fly Geyser, Nevada, USA. Fly Geyser rises from the Nevada desert as a cluster of colorful mineral towers, continuously releasing hot water, steam, and dissolved material across an otherwise dry landscape. The central story is accidental creation, becoming a living geological process, beginning when human drilling entered a geothermal system and allowed heated groundwater to reach the surface. As the water emerged, changing pressure caused minerals to precipitate, slowly building travertine cones, terraces, pools, and channels that continue expanding rather than remaining fixed. The greens, reds, oranges, and yellows covering the formation come partly from heat-loving microorganisms adapted to different temperatures across the flowing water. Each stream redirects mineral growth, meaning the geyser is constantly modifying its own plumbing, while new deposits cover older surfaces and alter the direction of future flow. Fly Geyser is not simply a colorful rock formation, but an active collaboration between human error, underground heat, mineral chemistry, and microscopic life still constructing the landscape today. Which detail is more surprising, the accidental beginning, the living colors, or the fact that the towers are still growing? Lake Natron, Tanzania. Lake Natron can appear red, orange, pink, or white beneath the intense East African sun, creating a beautiful surface above water, too alkaline for most familiar forms of life. The central story is how an extreme environment becomes a sanctuary because the same chemistry that excludes many animals helps protect one of the world's most important breeding grounds for lesser flamingos. Volcanic minerals enter the closed basin, while powerful evaporation concentrates salts and carbonates, producing highly alkaline conditions that support specialized microorganisms rather than ordinary freshwater ecosystems. Lesser flamingos feed on the salt-tolerant algae and gather in enormous numbers, building nests on isolated mudflats and islands that many predators cannot safely cross. The organisms sustaining the birds also contribute pigments to the water, turning the lake's unusual colors into visible evidence of biological productivity rather than lifeless toxicity. Natron's paradox is that conditions appearing almost hostile enough to eliminate life have instead created a refuge for a species whose survival depends upon precisely that hostility. Would you describe Lake Natron as dangerous, beautiful, or one of nature's most carefully protected nurseries? Glowworm Tunnel, Australia. Inside an abandoned railway tunnel in New South Wales, complete darkness is broken by thousands of blue-green points of light covering the ceiling, like a galaxy sealed beneath the forest. The central story is predation disguised as beauty, because each light belongs to the larva of a fungus gnat using bioluminescence to attract small insects through the darkness. A chemical reaction inside the larva produces a cold glow, while hanging beneath it are delicate silk threads, coated with sticky droplets capable of trapping prey drawn toward the light. Moisture protects the larvae from drying, darkness makes their signals visible, and the enclosed tunnel maintains the stable conditions required for a large colony to survive. The effect appears peaceful from below, yet every light is part of a hunting system, turning the ceiling into a field of tiny biological traps rather than a collection of stars. The glowworm tunnel feels otherworldly because it reverses our expectations, revealing that one of nature's most beautiful light displays exists not for decoration, but for survival. Subscribe for the next journey, and tell us whether you would enter this underground galaxy with the lights on or in complete darkness.